What's up, everyone? Welcome to Birds Deep. Hope you enjoyed that new intro video I did. Mike's been working hard on it. Me and Gene have been waiting for it. We're excited. A lot of football to talk about. A lot of crazy things going on in the world of football. But the Eagles, we're just being Philly fans. What can I say? And we're surviving the war. So I'm the Godfrey. I got my man over here, Gene. Tell him who you are.
Mean! Woo! Gene. I've been waiting for that, man. I'm waiting for my introduction. Talk about the intro that you did, but that Mike really did. Taking credit for stuff that the
No, I said
producer
Mike's
did.
been working hard on it. Mike's
Mike,
working hard
great
on it.
work. I love the intro. I hope you guys like the intro also. I'm ready for some Birds Deep action. After that last game, the stinker I got to watch last Sunday, I'm so ready for some football.
Yeah,
I'm ready
me
for
too.
football today, tomorrow. Let's get it done. There's no Thursday night game tonight.
It feels weird, right? Always
Very
feels
weird.
weird.
Very, very weird.
Yeah, that game where I guess we'll just jump right into the grades, right? Because I mean, that's on everybody's mind. Um,
100%. I want to jump right into grades.
so who you want to do first? Defense, offense?
It would be Jonathan Gannon, Nick Sirianni, and Gardner Minshew. We do the
Why don't we do
quarterback, the coach, and defensive coordinator.
Why don't we go quarterback first? Because this would be probably the easiest one of the three, in my opinion. I will be going F- for Gardner Minshew. He couldn't hit the broadside of the barn, and he showed you why he is a backup quarterback forever, for life, and is not a starter with potential. Because point blank, he just showed you by his on-field play. You saw A.J. Brown say, hey, I tried to alert him that the defense switched coverage, and he didn't even look, didn't have any awareness to such, and A.J. Brown was probably just watching that pick six happen like someone getting stabbed with a rusty butter knife because he saw it coming a mile away. And that's, that was the difference in the game. There were some other things, too, that made a difference. But, yeah, lack of awareness, accuracy, making bad decisions. There was 2 third downs that were very, very gettable that he did not get because he made the wrong decision as a quarterback, and basic decisions that a lot of people will be able to make that are a serviceable quarterback. And he was below serviceable. He was barely a backup last week. F- Gardner Minshew. That's all I got to say about that guy.
F- is a little extreme there, bud. You don't. So can I ask you a question real quick? Was he an
Sure.
F- the week prior when he put up 34 points versus the Cowboys?
No.
Okay, so do you not think like scheme, game plan, what the Eagles did offensively, schematically, had anything to do with his performance? You put it all on the quarterback. You act like we had you back there or me back
No.
there.
I mean, that would have been worse. But I don't put it all
How
on
do you
him
go lower than F-?
because there's decisions I saw him made in the field of play that doesn't seem scheme related to me.
He made one
and
awful decision in that game.
I'm not just talking about the pick six, though. I'm
That's
talking
it. It's
about
the only awful decision he made.
there were third
He
downs
held the
early on in
ball
the
a few
game.
times because it wasn't there.
Yep, it's true. And that's not all his part, and that's why Nick's got to be getting a whooping too, because the scheme was
Then you
awful.
can't give him an F-.
I just think he wasn't prepared mentally. He just seemed flustered. Is
All
this
right,
the
well,
pick six you're showing?
yeah, let me help you. This pick six is terrible, by the way. That's a really bad play. That play itself is an F-. But I brought this up just for the heck of it. First drive, the Saints go down and score a touchdown. First and 10, Minshew sacked -6 yards. Second and 16, Minshew sacked 0 yards. Third and 16, Minshew passed 8 yards to Kenneth Gainwell. Well, then the Eagles get a punt. They get the ball back. They're still down 7-0. First play, Miles Sanders, 4 yards. Second play, Miles Sanders, 5 yards. Third play, Minshew sacked, punt. We hold them to a field goal. It's 10-0. First play, Minshew incomplete. Second play, Minshew sacked. Third play, Minshew complete to Kenneth Gainwell, punt. They get a field goal. It's 13-0. First play, Minshew incomplete. Second play, Minshew pass just A.J. Brown for 7 yards. Third play, Minshew incomplete, punt. You find anything wrong about that? That's the half. I mean, you get the first down, you get the
Well, they
ball
didn't
back.
run. I did
What?
not like the scheme at all.
No. You have a backup quarterback in there versus a team that's very good against the pass, and you're just throwing the ball all over the yard. What are we doing? We're going to blame that
Yeah,
just on the
you
quarterback?
could run on them too. You can run on the
The
Saints. It's
offensive line was atrocious in that game.
mhm,
How many false start penalties we have? Let's pull it up. Don't worry,
probably at
don't worry,
least
I come prepared. Don't worry, I come prepared. So, team stats, I have these right here also. Uh, Offensive penalties. The Eagles were 8 for 49, including 5 snap infraction false starts or illegal motion.
awful.
You want to tell me again it was Gardner Minshew? F minus? That's wild. Look, I'm
Ah,
not he's a backup quarterback for a reason, Godfrey. You said this, right? You said that
100%.
he's a backup quarterback for a reason. Okay, so if he's a backup quarterback for a reason, why are we treating him like he's Tom Brady? Why are we treating him like he's Peyton Manning? Why? I don't understand. Help me understand why he was throwing the ball every play but 3 in the first half.
Well, that will get into our next grades after you give your
I give
grade
him
for
a D
Gardner.
plus.
Okay. I just saw him not make plays that weren't scheme related, but execution. He was cold as ice, and they should have been running it when they noticed that. It was easy
So
to notice
how do
right
you
away.
get him out of being cold as ice? You give him easy completions, quick
Or hand off the
slant,
ball.
screen passes, hand the ball off, move the chains, keep him
100%.
on the field for more than 3 plays.
Yeah, 100%.
A trick play. Something.
Yeah, they didn't set him up for success. They
Absolutely
definitely
not.
did not. Yeah, it's
So
I was very disappointed in their preparation. I guess you wanna go Nick Sirianni next or Gannon?
it doesn't matter. You pick. I'm following you. I'm following your lead today, but I'm fired up, bro. I'm ready. Oh, be
I
ready for me because I'm coming.
I like let's go with the defense. Let's
Okay.
go with
Let me
Gannon.
start here. Let me start
Sure.
here. Jonathan Gannon, first half was a C minus. Second half was an A plus. So I equaled it out for a B minus
Yeah.
because how in the world you walked into that football game and expecting to play soft zone versus Andy Dalton just for that same thing that you just brought up, right? We just talked about
Wild.
the way that game started. Here's the stats, right? Here's the stats that Andy Dalton was 18 of 22 for 205 yards. Taysom Hill was 2 for 2 for 24 yards, which means both quarterbacks went 20 for 24. They had 4 incompletions that entire game.
Yeah.
What?
It it's crazy.
4.
And that yeah. We talk about that all the time. The soft zone, making quarterbacks look better than they are, high completion rate. And if you're gonna play that game, you better not let them score. And I agree with your grade. I'm at the same way because what brought it down for me was that first drive, which was what, 8 minutes long?
Yeah.
And that's a big difference in a game, but they did hold them to a low amount of points. They adjust it and they adjust it in a timely manner, I thought, and the defense did step up. They started getting sacks. I was like, this is Andy Dalton. Like, how are we sacking a quarterback at the rate we have been all year? And this guy's allowed to just complete all these passes in a row. Is this crazy? Like, what was going on? It was almost like they were asleep and he was playing that crappy soft zone. And I can't, it's, it's awful watching it. It's just like,
Andy Dalton had the plan of coming into that game and saying to you, I am not going to turn the ball over. I'm going to take what the defense gives me. I'm going to hit the slant pass. I'm going to hit the short crosser. I'm going to hit the whatever pass that he made. It was the safe route, and they kept moving the chain. I've watched this happen now twice, where a team has just kept themselves in third and manageable and made the short passes. It happened versus Washington and it happened versus New Orleans. Third and manageable, first down. Third and manageable, first down. And the Eagles finally adjusted in the second half by pressing and not allowing those short slant passes, the short zones, the short crossers. It it was embarrassing, guy. It was embarrassing. Being an Eagles fan during that game, I don't think I listen, I watched the Commanders game and I was angry. I watched the Cowboys game. I wasn't that angry, but I was angry. Haven't been more angry of a football game, watching a football game in years. I was furious watching that game. Knowing that you have the opportunity to lock up the 1 seed in the NFC, get the bye, and that's the performance that you give. That's the stinker that you show up. You have the opportunity to keep your quarterback to not have to play the last game of the season, make sure he's 100% healthy. And that's the stinker that you laid out. The snap infractions, the false starts. And by the way, don't get me started on the officials because that call on Landon Dickerson changed the
Oh, it was
football
awful.
game. That was awful.
Who
Awful.
was the broadcasting crew? Was it Moose Johnson?
Moose Johnson.
He was offended. He was deeply offended by that call. Like, and he
He
should have been. It
That's
was
the
ridiculous.
definition of a pancake.
They took a TD away from him off that, and I'm just like, are you? He got penalized for dominating the other player. They were like, oh, you know what? You're too dominant. Flag. You just can't play that good, Landon.
That was
Flag.
embarrassing. It
Horrible.
changes so much too because that's a touchdown instead of a field goal. And the situation that you're in when you score the next touchdown on that big play to AJ Brown, you're up points instead of down. So that pick six, it's just
Might
such
not
a
even
big
the
difference,
play might
man.
not even been called. You know what I mean?
Correct.
And,
Correct.
and people don't. That's the ripple effect of a call like that. And people don't realize that. Now, should the Eagles have beat him anyway, despite that
Yeah.
being the talent they have? Yes, they should have absolutely been able to
Agreed.
overcome that. And this is where the coach Sirianni's come up short. And I'm with you. I have same grade on Gannon that you gave. My analogy or my analysis is the same as far as the overall effort they gave in the game.
Okay.
But
So
Sirianni, he's I I don't know. If I'm giving him Gardner an F, I'm giving him an F, and I have to because listen,
but I'm
it
okay with
seemed
you
like
giving him an F.
it seems if so we heard, and we'll go to my counterfeit green later on with this, but we heard that Jalen's a system quarterback. Well, no, he's not, because if this system was well oiled, we'd be able to prepare the backup, and it felt like they weren't prepared. They felt like, they didn't have the offensive line ready. They had timing issues last week, obviously, with a couple of the fumbles in the Cowboys game. You work on that in practice this week. You shouldn't have been having cadence issues. It's his second start in a row. You shouldn't have been having timing issues. You shouldn't have been having offensive line issues. You shouldn't have been, starting Drac Driscoll, knowing he's coming in for another player and putting him in passing situations when you can get this big offensive line going and run the ball down their throats, which you can do on the Saints. He wasn't doing anything that he should have did. It was almost like they didn't even really try. They're like, you know what? That was a tough game in Dallas. Same game plan. Let's run it back. And it just didn't make any sense because you have a running back that's having his best year of his career, and you have a quarterback that's not Jalen Hurts, put him in position to win. And they didn't do that for the whole first half or until that A.J. Brown touchdown. There was like no adjustments. It was almost like they took the last week off. And I felt like they were unprepared, and it really shows. I I don't know if this is gonna speak to his body work, but that week it looks like once this game was going on, I was like, yeah, Jalen Hurts is definitely gonna be back no matter what. I don't care. Like, they're getting him on the field because they're seeing the stark difference between the two, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, where were they? Did they take off? Was there a substitute teacher? He gets an F from me. I just didn't
Right.
like the
So
scheme.
he gets an F from me
Awful.
too, Godfrey. He gets an F from me too. I have a couple stats for this one too. I want to ask you a question, Godfrey. Who do you think gained more yards in the game?
Was the Saints or the Eagles?
Yep.
I think it was
Gained
the
more
Eagles,
yards.
wasn't it? Was the
It was
Eagles, was it
tied.
not?
313. It was tied. 313 to 313. Trick question.
Hmm.
Okay, so third and fourth down efficiency. The Philadelphia Eagles were 3 of 14 on third down.
Oof. Yep.
New Orleans Saints were 8 of 17 on third down. Almost hitting at a 50% clip. And the Saints didn't move the ball at all in the second half.
None.
Okay, first rushing first downs. The Saints had 8, the Eagles had 2. Passing first downs, the Saints had 10, the Eagles had 9. They also got a first down off of penalties. 19 first downs to 11. They moved the ball. One
Yeah,
more
they
part.
also had that. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Who do you think ran the ball better per rushing attempt?
Oh, you talking about Kamara versus Sanders?
No, talking about team rushing. Yards per rush. Who do you
I
think
know
had the higher
Sanders is
yards
pretty.
per rush?
Sanders is
The
pretty
Eagles or
high,
the
so I'm gonna.
Saints?
I'm gonna go Eagles. They
The
better not
Eagles
be
ran the
tied
ball
again.
4.5 yards per carry. The Saints ran the ball for 3.7 yards per carry. The Eagles completed yards per pass was 6.5 per pass. The Saints were 5.9 per pass. So we were running the ball more efficiently, passing the ball more efficiently. That's pretty interesting. But we lost the first downs. You know what that tells me? The game plan was screwed. What are you
Yeah,
doing not running the football? They ran the ball 15 times versus the Saints 35.
yeah, and the Saints knew
The
who they were coming
problem.
in, and they didn't try to hide it.
Time of possession 37 minutes to 22 minutes.
Ridiculous. That's the killer
The
stat of the game.
Philadelphia Eagles lost this football game. Preparation, coaching, and poor offensive line play. Listen. I'll give Minshew. He was a D plus, fine. Gannon B minus. Sirianni F. F is in Frank.
Yeah,
F is in
yeah. Siri,
failure.
the play I didn't like. I don't know how you feel about this. Everybody talks about how successful the Eagles have been on the first down, or I'm sorry, the QB sneak this year. And
Oh, the
listen,
only reason they're successful on QB sneak is because their quarterback can squat 500 pounds. Gardner Minshew
right?
is
He's not
soft
the
as a rail.
exactly. He's
Not the
not the
same
same
player.
guy. Why can't I would rather if you're gonna do that, give it to Sanders, give it to Scott, give anybody. But you're gonna I'm like, Minshew isn't the same dude. You can't just plug him in there. Like, you know what? You've been successful. Your offensive line struggling. I didn't even like the decision to go for it. I get why, but I'm like, are they gonna do the QB sneak? And everybody knew it was coming. The Saints knew it was coming. And the Eagles got a little cocky and they stopped them. They stuffed them. And yes, there's a huge difference between Minshew as far as physical capability and Hurts. A huge difference, a 500-pound squat difference. So, I mean, come on, guys.
500-pound squat. Do you think Minshew can lift 225? I'm serious. I'm not trying to be a smartass. Like, what do you think Minshew squats?
You could probably get up
Professional
a
quarterback.
clean 250, clean 250,
250.
Yeah, maybe
Jalen
3.
Hurts
I
squat
don't
500 pounds. That's why those quarterback sneaks work. By the way, I know you're
yeah.
going to get into it, counterfeit green. I don't want to get too nuts here, but you tell me and explain to me how in the world that Jalen Hurts is in the MVP of the league. Oh, it's a system. It's the team.
Yeah,
Again, Micah Parsons, tell me again. It's the system. It's the team. It's not Jalen. Tell me again. I'm waiting.
yeah. And it shows,
Joke.
like, listen, I mean, better mustache for Minshew, but that's about it. I mean, listen, it shows on the field, right? Like, everybody was like, "Scheme, scheme, Sirianni scheme." No, Jalen Hurts is making everybody look good on that offense. Outside of the offensive line, who's always been good on this team, he's making Sirianni look good. He's making the right decisions. He's making the scheme work for him. His physical gifts are enabling him to push that offense forward, and it's the truth. And, some people disagree with this, but it makes me think of the Chicago game, right? Like, you know, why didn't they scheme in more handoffs to Miles Sanders? People say Jalen Hurts audibled out of it. Jalen, let's hand it off to Miles Sanders, right? Maybe he's not hurt. Maybe he is. Maybe he couldn't have prevented it. I don't know. But it just talks to lack of preparation again and lack of forward thinking in my mind on the offensive side of the ball and the coaching staff.
Oh,
You know,
100%. And Godfrey, I don't listen. It's hard to argue over a team that's 14-point favorites to be the number one seed in the NFL playoffs, in the NFC
right.
playoffs, or the NFL playoffs as a whole. It's hard to argue that, right? And I don't want to say that Sirianni or Gannon or any of these guys have done a bad job all year. But this game was absolute preparational trash. It was. It
It
was
was.
terrible. You can't look at you have a quarterback that's a backup quarterback for a reason. The offense look, Godfrey, I really want to be clear when I say this. How many plays do you think an NFL offense runs in which they're successful schematically? Like each play that's ran, right? When you watch Patrick Mahomes, how many times does he improvise versus does the scheme work? How many times does Josh Allen improvise versus does the scheme work? How many times does Jalen Hurts improvise outside of the scheme working? Because
I would
when you
say
watch that
more often
Philadelphia
than
Eagles,
not.
100%. So let's not
Yeah.
pretend it's not Hurts the reason that this offense moved. It's what it is. Hurts is the reason the
Yeah.
offense moves. Because even when the scheme doesn't work, guess what? Jalen uses his legs to make something happen.
Plus,
Teams
it's
have
all
to
about
spy. Teams have to spy. You see what the Saints did schematically defensively? You see what they did, right? Four-man rush all day. That's it. That's all they
yeah.
needed. You
They
can't
didn't have
do
to
that
worry
with
about
Jalen.
Jalen Hurts. No,
You can't do
you
that with
can't.
Jalen.
Demario Davis isn't doing what he can do normally if Jalen Hurts is in that game. Um,
Absolutely.
and the thing about it is when you look at a Jalen, you look at a Gardner Minshew, there's another thing that screams continuity, communication, knowing how your offensive line plays, knowing the offense, the reps that he had, and what happened in that interception, I guarantee doesn't happen with Jalen Hurts. Maybe they're not even in that position, but I guarantee Jalen Hurts winks over at AJ Brown. He didn't even look at AJ Brown. That's what AJ Brown said. Didn't even look at him. Jalen Hurts was probably going to give him a quick glance and be like, "Oh, they changed the defense. Here's the audible," you know. And but that goes to
You're
outside
getting
of
too
what he's
far
better
into what
physically.
I don't want to talk about my counterfeit green now, but I'll tell you right now, that's it. But I will get into that a little
Yeah,
bit
so
later.
they it stunk, and it was the worst game of the year for the Eagles. I know they got a good record, and I agree with Gene. That was probably one of the most embarrassing and frustrating games of the year to watch the Eagles play. I was just like, this shouldn't be
Let me ask you a
happening, but
question.
it is happening.
When have you seen a more embarrassing game? The only game I compared to in the last 2 years was the Eagles Giants at MetLife, the one they lost 13-3. It's the only
That's a
game
good one.
I will compare it to.
I mean, they got
No other
handled
game
pretty.
have I been that frustrated in the last 3 years.
Yeah, I would say that's the one because that was a winnable game for them. The Tampa Bay one comes up to mind both times, but that wasn't really one we thought they would win.
Exactly.
So
They got
but
bullied
the
in those games versus Tampa.
yeah. In these games, they should absolutely won even with Gardner Minshew. It was completely possible. Even with Gardner Minshew, the Eagles are a better team on paper than the Saints. You knew they were gonna you knew what they're gonna do with Taysom Hill and all these guys, and you should saw it coming from a mile away. That's why the first drive was frustrating. I'm like, "Oh, you guys didn't see that coming? You didn't see that? You didn't think that was what do you think he's gonna do?" Like, they're a predictable offense, the Saints. I watch a lot of football. There's nothing surprising about their offense. Nothing. Like, Taysom Hill's not fooling anybody anymore. He's been doing this for 4 years. Like, come on, guys. So, I just felt like they must have took off for the week of Christmas or something, and then they were like, "Oh, they underestimated teams." And on top of that, they make their draft pick worse, theoretically, right? Because if they beat them, they're putting another loss. And will that in the long run hurt the Eagles? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But it would have been nice to be up a guaranteed more spot because there's another loss on their record, and you're getting their pick. So,
The only positive part of Sunday was the Bucks winning. They guarantee that they win the division, so New Orleans has no chance of winning the division because that could have bumped their playoff spot up even higher.
yeah. True. True.
What we got a game to talk
Mike,
about
yeah.
this week?
Yeah, Eagles Giants, one of my favorite Eagles of the rivalries. I hate the Cowboys, but I also hate the Giants a little bit more. Um, they're favored by 14 right now.
They are.
Eagles aren't. Yeah, Eagles are going to play the starters. Giants are not. Nothing to gain. They're going to be smart. I don't think they're playing it. That's why the spread is reflecting that, right?
Yeah,
So,
Brian Dable said they're playing the starters.
do you believe them?
Absolutely not. Let me tell you something right now. Uh, Pat Leonard just posted his Giants beat reporter. What I saw at practice confirms for me that the Giants will likely rest several starters versus the Eagles. He wrote that in the New York Daily News. So I think that the New York Giants, Brian Dable said that after the game. Uh, I think it's completely false. I think the Philadelphia Eagles will be playing the Giants backups this Sunday. But I'm telling you right now, that's a really crappy situation to walk into because you do not want to play a bunch of guys that have nothing to lose. And I'm not saying that the
Yeah.
Eagles lose the game, but they can hurt you and they can take cheap shots at you. And the Giants don't have to worry about losing them for the playoffs. Think of it this way: Week 18, the Philadelphia Eagles have to play their starters, while the New York Giants get a bye. That's the position that we're in right now. That's the
Yeah.
position we're in.
And that could have been alleviated if they took care of business last week, but they didn't.
Giants are not. If Saquon Barkley plays in this game, Brian Dable should be fired.
Yeah, it's not gonna
Because
happen.
if the Giants lose Saquon Barkley, in an
Over.
Eagles game when they have a playoff game next week and they can't improve anything, whole city of New York would kill them.
Yeah. Um, over. And some Eagles players have some history on the line, don't they? I was reading about that. Uh, I was down to pull it up, but there's some incentive. There's a receiving yardage record on the line. I believe that would be AJ Brown, right? And there is it a TD record? Is it a Jalen Hurts record? Did you hear about that, Gene?
No,
Team records?
I know
Not
this
NFL
sounds
records.
crazy. I understand, but I know this sounds crazy, but I don't care. I don't. I don't care about receiving records. I don't care about passing records, touchdown records. If the Eagles wrapped up the 1 seed, I would care about all that stuff this week. All right, let's get AJ Brown his bonus. Let's get Jalen Hurts his bonus. Let's
No,
get
I agree with
whoever,
you.
whatever. But this is a game that they have to win. They have to win. They're going to win the game. They should win the game. But crazier things have happened.
If they lost this game, it's gonna be pure panic meltdown mode until the playoffs. Like, it's gonna be there's gonna be people jumping off the Ben Franklin.
They lose
Like,
this game. I got news for you. They would have played their first playoff game in the divisional round. They won't make the divisional.
yeah. I just think Jalen Hurts is 100% playing. I don't know if they confirmed that or not yet. I was working today, but, um, are they still playing coy with that? He's playing. I don't even have to look. I know he's playing. There's no doubt in my mind he's playing. They're not gonna risk putting Minshew out there and then not going that way again. They're 100% playing him. Will they play him the whole game? If they get a big maybe they take him out, like, after the second half. They start pulling starters. It depends.
After the second half.
Yeah, I'm sorry, after the first half. Second half, that
I'm
would be
just
the end of the
busting
game.
balls, man. I
That
love
would be
you.
the end of the game after
After
the
the
first
second
half
half, they'll take him out.
because the game will
But
be over.
AJ Brown said today, 2 hours ago to reporters, we're all excited to have Jalen Hurts back.
Yeah,
By the
and they
way,
should be.
Gardner Minshew and Gardner Minshew's gone, right? Like he won't be back with the Eagles next year. And I'm gonna tell you why he's not coming back. I like Gardner Minshew as a backup quarterback. Really do.
I
I,
think
I
he's a
challenge
serviceable
you to
backup.
find me. I challenge you to find me 2 or 3 backups in the league better than him. And
It's not there's not that many.
yeah, but that's the
Maybe
thing, right? That's the thing. You have Gardner Minshew, who you basically just ostracized. AJ Brown just
right.
ostracized him, which I don't agree with. And that bothers me. That's not what we do, right? And like I said, I'll
Yeah,
get into that later.
yeah,
It's not what
I'll let you get in
championship
that
teams.
later, but he did hang him out to dry. You're absolutely right, and I when I did hear that comment, although it might have been truthful, I was like, I don't know if that's the right way to go. I agree with you on that one. We'll get into that later, but yeah, I mean,
The Philadelphia Eagles can have there you go, there it is. We're excited to have Jalen Hurts back. He was telling guys to come on, hurry up, get going. I think he'll be fine on Sunday. AJ Brown expects Jalen Hurts to play. The one stat that I did look at that I think is really interesting. If Devontae Smith gets 71 scrimmage yards, The Philadelphia Eagles will be the first trio of teammates in NFL history, 25 years or younger, to have 1,200 scrimmage yards in the same season.
That's the
Never been
record I
done
was
before.
talking about. That's the one I couldn't remember.
Never been
Okay.
done before.
That'd be amazing.
But Giants Giants have none. You're gonna see a lot of. And by the way, the Giant. Let me see something real quick, 'cause I don't know if he's hurt or not.
By the way, I would say, side note, we are gonna
Yeah,
make
Tyrod. You're gonna see a lot of Tyrod. You're gonna see a lot of Tyrod. Tyrod's not a
oh,
terrible
Ty
quarterback.
God's on the team? Okay.
Yes, Tyrod's their backup.
Oh,
Tyrod,
man.
Matt Breida. They'll play their first string wide receivers because they're all bums anyway. They'll play their first string offensive linemen. They'll probably sit their center. They'll probably start Nick Gates at center. Like, I don't think that you're gonna see many backups on the Giants offense. I think what you'll see someone like Dexter Lawrence sitting, Leonard Williams, who's been nursing an injury, he'll sit. You'll see Thibodeau out there. He's a young kid. They're gonna run him as much as they possibly can. You won't see a Dory Jackson. You won't see Aziz Ajolari. Like, but you'll still see Julian Love will play. He's a rookie. You're still going to see about 75 to 80% of Giants starters in that game. Don't walk in knowing you have the game won already. Don't do that. Walk in
Yeah.
and be ready to bully that team.
Well,
That's what you need to do.
the receivers are backups, right, already, so I guess are you playing third stringers like Isaiah Hodgins, Richie James, it Isaiah Hodgins has been playing well, and so has Richie James, don't get me wrong, but, they're not a starter on a lot of teams right now. So,
They only have 5 receivers on the active roster. Kenny Galladay is one of them. So you'll have
he's a placeholder.
Galladay, Darius Slayton, Richie James. You'll see all those guys. They'll all play. I don't think there'll be an issue. I think they'll play a lot of starters, but that shouldn't matter. You're playing the Giants in Philadelphia,
They could play the whole team, they
14
still
point
should win
spread,
this. They just
100%.
smoked this team.
We just smoked them recently. My goal: get out of this game with a win. Get out of this game as healthy as possible. The Philadelphia Eagles just activated Robert Quinn and C.J. Gardner Johnson. They
Oh,
just
he's back.
opened the
Oh my
21-day
god.
window. They just opened the
You
21-day window on both of them. They probably both won't play this week. They might see some action. They might be active. They might not. Well, they probably both won't play, but they activated the practice window. You have to do it within
yeah.
21 days of them coming back. So
Gardner Johnson's a
I don't
big
think they'll
get
play.
back.
Oh, Gardner Johnson is great in that, and then you don't have to keep counting out Reed Blankenship you don't want to keep doing that. Reed Blankenship's giving you serviceable time, but Gardner
Right.
Johnson's a million times.
I mean, Reed Blankenship is like kinda like a relief pitcher, right? Like, this guy can give you a couple innings, and if you stretch it past that, they're gonna start putting it in the seats. There's only so many plays you're gonna be able to get from Reed Blankenship that are serviceable before the defense is gonna get over on that guy, and that's not his fault, that's just his talent level. The guy's trying out there, and, Gardner Johnson will once he's back, that will be a big get for the defense. So will Robert Quinn. Hopefully, we get a really productive Robert Quinn because I know he's struggling when he first got here. No, injury is probably the reason, but that's gonna be a big get. Avonte Maddox, though, there's did they give a timetable yet for him possibly coming back, or is he just done for the year? I
I
don't
think
think
he's
they
done
put
for
him
the
on
year.
IR. He's done for the year. That foot injury is that bad? It's a big loss.
Yeah, it's a
Huge loss.
looking it up
That
right
that
now since you said it.
that loss is easy to weather, though, when you have Gardner Johnson back. When they lost Maddox in that Dallas game, my first thought was, "And Gardner Johnson's not in the game." That's a big hole to fill. You know, with Gardner Johnson there, you could kinda hide that somewhat, scheme it, kind of, not be taken advantage of so much that they were with, Bree Blankenship and then the other guy that backs him up. But I'm so happy that guy's gonna be back. I knew he'd be back, but like he's a key part of the defense. He was a playmaker for a lot of the years. So lacerated kidney, man, that ain't easy.
Ain't easy being cheesy. I'm kidding. But Gardner Johnson being back is huge. I think that'll help the Eagles a ton. But hey, listen, we'll see. I hope he plays. I hope Avonte Maddox makes it back for playoffs. Lane Johnson still is not practicing. He said he'll be back for the playoffs. He's
Do
rehabbing.
you think they try to play the first playoff game without Lane Johnson?
No, you better not. You better
Okay.
not, because you're gonna play Dallas.
Yeah. It's
How
gonna
do you
line up
play
that
the
way?
first playoff game without? No.
Well, I just heard speak of that. I mean, because remember, he's going through the whole rehab situation, and I'm hopeful he's there, but it makes me think of not a good comparison as far as the type of player to play through injuries, but Deshaun Jackson, remember, he chose the rehab route that 1 year and was out the whole year, played 1 game, came back, and he was out, or 1 play coming back, and he was out, and,
Totally
just
different position.
totally
Totally
different
different
position.
position.
I agree. I just it's tou abdominal tear is not easy. I'm just thinking about the guy's health, and
100%, but what's an extra week gonna do? He needs surgery. Like,
yeah,
he's putting off surgery so he can play in the playoffs. Like,
there's
it's
one guy
gonna
that could do it. It
yes,
is Lane. Lane's
I
the
hope
guy that could
so.
do it.
Fill him up with
They
a
need him.
bunch of pain medication.
They got like a 250 winning percentage without him. I think it might even be lower than
Oh,
that now after the last 2 games. So Lane Johnson is critical to the Eagles' success.
agree. Let's get into score predictions. Then we'll get into counter for Green, before we wrap up.
For predictions. So I think the Eagles win handily. Um, I don't think we really need to go over how they're going to do it, but I foresee a lot of running on the ball. I foresee getting the passing game in rhythm because essentially, if they win this game, what's going to happen is a lot of these guys are going to get rested and they're not playing for a couple weeks, right? So I see them playing it like it's for real, and they're not going to take it lightly, especially after 2 losses. Minus 14, the total's 42.5. I see, 34-13 Eagles.
I'll take 31-10 Eagles. I think the Eagles blow them out. I think that if you'll see a lot of rushing yards in this game, I think you're going to see a lot of heavy dose of Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott. I think Miles Sanders will get limited carries because they feel like they're going to win the game. They're going to try to keep the running backs fresh. Don't want to get anybody else injured. I just hope we come out of this game unscathed, injury wise.
Yeah.
Win the game and don't get hurt.
Maybe bring Trey Sermon out. Activate him if you got to put him in the fourth quarter. Get that man some carries.
No, Trey Sermon stinks.
He does, but I'm
Trey
saying
Sermon, you want to talk about a guy that made his entire he got drafted in the 3rd round because Master T got hurt at Ohio State, and he played 3.5 games or 4 games and had 4 good games behind the best offensive line in the Big Ten for when he played, and
yeah,
he got drafted in the 3rd round. Then went into Kyle Shanahan's system, was a very run happy system, and got his job taken by a 6th rounder. Get the hell out of here. Trey Sermon's a
crazy.
bum.
He
He's a
cannot.
bum. Right?
He
He's
has
a
no. He
bum.
has no vision. He runs right into the offensive line. So it's yeah. But if he's taking snaps that don't mean anything in the last 5 minutes of the game. I'm okay with that.
I'm all right. If he's
So
playing, that means that the game's wrapped up.
right. But yeah, that's we'll jump into the counterfeit greens. I'll go first because you've been teasing yours a little bit more than mine.
Yeah.
Um, my counterfeit green is Chris Sims, who was the person that started this whole thing about Jalen being a system quarterback, and my guy does not lose with grace. I mean, maybe he's just doing that so people like me talk about him. Not that he thinks about me, but people's have their name in his mouth. But this guy was lashing out at ESPN and all these people that kept putting his take on air. And I think it's great. I think it's great that people are putting it out there because it was kind of one of those ones where it was a very thirsty take. He was trying to just be different. I don't know if he really believes it or not, but it's kind of ironic because his pappy is the definition of a system quarterback, Phil Simms. Um, Example, they lost him, and they went on to win that Super Bowl anyway that year. Decent quarterback, good quarterback, but he was the definition of a system quarterback. And he's calling Jalen Hurts a system quarterback, and I just think this guy being a former quarterback, I can't take I can't take that seriously. Coming from a guy that was a former quarterback that played pro ball, that played at I believe he's University of Texas. Is that where he played, Gene? Texas? I know you know
I don't know.
college football better than me. But, he lashes out because people are calling him out on his take, And guess what, dude? Your take was awful, and you deserve to get it. And, the counterfeit part of it is just be wrong with grace, man. Be like, "You know what? He proved me wrong." And at the end of the day, just be like, move on. But this guy was so pissed. He was like, "F ESPN, F these guys, F you guys." He could just fuck you, Sports Center, you know, fuck off. Seriously, these are direct quotes. Okay. Um, Expletive rant, challenged Global Sports Network to let him make his voice heard on their flagship show. Like, you are counterfeit green, my friend, because you couldn't have been more wrong, and it's been proven wrong. So eat the crow, take it like a man, and just admit that your take was thirsty. And people always love doing these thirsty takes when it comes to Eagles fans because we're very reactive. We defend our quarterback. If you're our own, we're going to defend you. That's just how we are. And it's the low hanging fruit. I talk about it all the time, and he was trying to pick from that tree too. And this time, when you bit into it, it had a worm in it, and it was sour. So that's my counterfeit green for this week.
My counterfeit green's very simple, right? It's AJ Brown. AJ Brown doing what he did after the game. I wanted to talk about this for the beginning of the show because I want to tell the listeners that's not the way Philadelphia Eagles players react. That's not the way Philadelphia Eagles players should respond to adversity. I've played team sports my entire life. Whether or not the guy had a crap game or not doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. He's a teammate. He's your teammate. And you don't do that to the media. You want to do that behind closed doors. You showed the quarterback up. You showed him up during the game. You threw your arms up at him. You didn't and I understand not fully running the route, but once you seen he was starting to throw the ball, that slant, you got to attempt to break it up. Um,
Yeah,
as a whole. And then you go in the media and you talk about how he didn't even look at you and this, and that. Like, don't do that, man. That's behind closed doors. Counterfeit green is very simple. And then people are like, well, he was being honest. Okay, that's fine. Be honest to him to his face. Don't be honest with him to the media. So Gardner Minshew is technically playing for a contract. He's playing for another team, essentially. He's playing to be able to get signed and make money. What you did was you essentially hurt that man's pocket, and that's not right.
yeah,
It's not what teammates do. I'm very
I
upset
agree.
with the way he handled it, and I'm very upset with the way that he threw his teammate under the bus. You see the whole thing happening year after year. They're teammates, they're family, it's a brotherhood. You don't do it to your brother, and I don't care what the situation is, unless they quit on your team, which Gardner didn't do. You don't do that. That's my counterfeit greens.
Yeah, I agree, man. That's a good point you bring up because when you look at it, and I didn't even think about this at first until you brought this point up, but you know, the guy is going for a contract. And AJ Brown, some people used to say stuff about him in Tennessee, and I'm pretty sure he wouldn't have liked it in reverse. Someone called him out like that, and it affected his pocket. And I didn't even think about that part of the play. And I do remember it now where, where was AJ Brown? Was he trying to stop that? Was he trying to stop that pick six? And he was just, on top of that, Gardner Minshew didn't have a great game, but he gave AJ Brown the biggest play the Eagles have had all year in a 78-yard touchdown pass. So, you know, I agree. That's pretty low brow. It's a good point you bring up. I didn't really think about that, and that's a lot of people were dismissing it, but you're dead on. Dead balls on accurate on that one.
It's just wrong, man. These guys playing for a contract. He's been a teammate. He's been an Eagle now for almost 2 years. He gave us a tough game versus Dallas on Christmas Eve, played his butt off, lost the game. People have argued he should have been the starter last year when Jalen was having issues. And he wanted to be in a quarterback competition with Jalen this year. And they said, nah, Jalen's the start. At the end of the day, you got to give the guy credit. He's a competitor.
Yeah.
And to do that to him on a national stage, it's just not right. But that's my counterfeit green this week. Hopefully next week when we go on the show, we're talking about a bye week for the Eagles. No wild card game. We're We're talking about what team they're going to play. We're discussing a win, no further injuries, and that we're going to get all our guys back come playoff. That's what
That
I'm
would be
hoping
nice.
to accomplish come next week.
And a miracle for Avante Maddox. That won't happen though. that's that's a tough one, man. But yeah, that's it, folks. If you want to catch some more football from us, we're jumping on over to pregame and pigskin on the Sports Empire Network. We'll share it out on the Birds Deep page, so you can tune in. We'll be talking about all the games, Mar Hamlin update, all that great stuff. And thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. And this is the Godfrey and the NFL Genius Gene. Not saying goodbye, just saying take it deep. I didn't mean say Birds Deep.